are transforming the way the capital is policed, but also the nature of crime itself. The Met are in the process of trialling some new technologies, but are they the right ones to fight crime in a century where, as the Commissioner, Bernard Hogan-Howe, put it recently, the laptop will soon replace the shotgun? Andrew Cryan has this.
Yeah, it is a good one.
This is the Deputy Mayor for Policing, Stephen Greenhalgh, on a mission, he says, to digitise the Met.
We go back to the era of Dixon and Dock Green, and the person that would be rooted in their neighbourhood, know their beat, using a whistle and a truncheon, knowing the local people. Then technology moved the police away from the public. They moved into panda cars, they had their radios. Here we have technology ensuring that they can be closer to the public again. Previously you just write lots of notes and then have to go back to the station and...
Yeah. Officers here are trialling tablets, which let them search for missing people, enter police reports, statements and more, all without having to go back to the police station.
They can't be behind the criminals. They have to have smartphones, iPads, body-worn video.
Cameras on.
London has also seen the world's largest rollout of body-worn cameras. We followed two officers in a West London response team answering 999 calls to see how the technology worked.
Now, when the police are responding to an incident, typically when they go into it, they'll flick the cameras on. And what that means is they get much better evidence when it comes to court.
Body-worn cameras and tablets are currently on trial. If deemed a success, they could be introduced across the whole police. But technology is already helping the fight against crime. Car alarms and engine immobilisers have helped drive vehicle theft down from over 60,000 a year to just over 20,000 in little over a decade. And more dramatically, phone theft recently fell by 40% in just 1 year, in a large part due to the introduction of so-called kill switches, which allow the rightful owner of a phone to render it unusable if it's stolen. But it's not all good news. Technology is also causing big problems for the Met.
Policing needs to change, but sadly, crime is changing faster. The government likes to go around saying crime's falling. The truth is, crime is moving online. We've seen a 70% increase in online banking fraud over the last 12 months. We've seen a 15% increase in card fraud over the last 12 months, but we're not seeing the resources going in to match the scale of the growth in crime.
And cybercrime goes well beyond just fraud. Grooming, child porn, hate crime and social media are all part of it. You can even buy drugs online. But with these crimes happening over networks which are spread over different locations, the Met Commissioner, Sir Bernard Hogan-Howe, has questioned whether our current police forces are up to the job.
Cybercrime makes the notion of jurisdiction less and less meaningful, and fewer forces would help us make the vital transition to digital policing.
City Hall say they want to free up officer time to get them out on the streets. But it may be in the future more and more criminal behaviour isn't happening here so much as online.
Well, Stephen Greenhalgh is here, the Deputy Mayor for Policing. Welcome to you. It's about £1 million, isn't it, for these tablets at the moment or whatever? What do you think you're going to achieve from iPads and so on?
A lot of gains. At the moment, officers spend far too long rekeying data, going back to the police station, sitting at a desktop. Around 90 minutes is going to be gained where they can be out in neighbourhoods, spending time with victims, but also, most importantly, using technology to prevent crime from happening in the first place. So this is part of a programme to get a more mobile, digital police service in our neighbourhoods.
And body-worn cameras, that was still in the middle of a pilot there, but what are the early signals? And are police officers keeping them on all the time? They're not, are they?
Yeah. Well, no, obviously there have to be protocols around body-worn videos, but this is...
So they're not putting them on all the time at the moment?
No, you don't. I mean, you don't want to just store things needlessly. There need to be clear protocols when you switch things on and when you switch things off. There's a storage issue there. But let's understand that you talk to frontline police officers, having a body-worn video is a great deterrent. When there's a violent or an explosive situation, people calm down when they know they're on film. Equally, victims of domestic abuse, if you capture the kind of injuries that people sustain in their homes, and rather than writing a report, that can be very powerful evidence and testimony. So body-worn videos are really appreciated by frontline cops.
So Stephen Greenhalgh exploring, digital ways of doing things and saving money. At the same time, cybercrime, online banking fraud up 70%. We heard from Steve Reed. I think the Commissioner said overall online crime up 50% in a year recently. What do you think about that?
Well, quite a lot. We recognise that this is an emerging threat. The cybercriminal, a lot of crime, traditional crimes have moved online now, and it's important to fight crime online. The Commissioner set up a fraud and link crime online unit, putting, at the moment, there's several hundred police officers, but he's pledged 400 police officers to fight cyber criminals. I think that's important. Cyber-enabled fraud is a menace. We need to do something about that.
You describe it as emerging. It's hardly emerging kind of almost overnight. Do you think while you've been reforming and doing all kinds of other things, and closing police stations and reforming neighbourhood policing and so on, you have taken your eye off the ball on this?
No, because having £200 million to spend on technology required us to sell a lot of underutilised Victorian buildings. We put bobbies before buildings. We now have the money to invest in a technology programme that really will make a difference, whether it's in neighbourhoods or fighting the cyber criminal.
I mean, it sounds like you've got about 40 officers in a specialist online team, and then you've got 80 more in the lesser
200 growing to 400 was actually...
Growing? What was growing to 400? As in when?
You can't just say, here's a new unit, here are 400 officers. Bit by bit, the numbers are increasing.
When
and the Commission's committed to 400. Well, in about a year's time. But at the moment, there's around 250 officers focused in a new unit on cybercrime. I think that's the right way to go. But equally, the Mayor's Office has set up a digital resilience centre for small businesses, because actually 90% of the cybercrime is not against the individual, it's against large and small, and particularly small businesses, and they are not being protected.
Let me bring Stella Creasy in here, because it's not your role now, but you've got some experience of this when you're doing crime prevention. What do you make of this? Your colleague says that they've taken the eye off the ball.
Yeah, look, the police, I know both from my own personal experience, have a long way to go in understanding the nature of crime online and offline. And I have to say, Stephen, I was really horrified by the report you wrote that suggested that we shouldn't take online harassment seriously. I think that really misunderstands the nature of the impact of that crime on the victims, and also the connection now between online and offline crime.
Was this in a document? Was this in a document?
The document for reform. I mean, you mentioned domestic violence. 50% of stalking cases involve online harassment. There's a strong connection between domestic violence and online harassment.
Let me put that straight to me if you're going to make an allegation like that about that. But does that indicate that you haven't taken some aspects of this crime seriously?
Take domestic abuse, any form of harassment, extremely seriously, online or offline. So I don't recognise that kind of allegation. What we've got to recognise is you've got to get earlier. You've got to stop. Harassment can often move to violence, and I certainly wouldn't say that we've taken our eye off the ball. The difficulty is when money is becoming tight, how do you allocate resources to be able to get an effective policing response? Okay. That's what we're focusing on.
Can I ask the Home Office Minister too, whether you will accept and have concerns, or are not providing him with the money to tackle this growing problem, when all the indicators are showing it's going, that the crime, we haven't got the resources, I haven't put the resources in to deal with it?
Well, this government for the first time actually has recognised cyber as a national threat as part of our overall strategy, and have invested hundreds
of... As a security threat in your...
But it actually feeds down into organised criminality, and therefore the capabilities that have been invested, hundreds of millions of pounds have gone in to address this very specific point. So you've got Stephen and his specific team within the Met. We have the National Crime Agency and the National Cybercrime Unit that is actually taking on board and putting in place the specialist capability. But it's also about training. Because where Stella is right is that it is about digital forensics. It's about understanding how each crime now will have a digital footprint. That's why the College of Policing is taking the steps they are to make sure that our police officers are properly trained and understand it. And also how we do need to have those specialist units. From my side on security as well, our counter-terrorism internet referral unit has taken down around 75,000 items of illegal material.
Recognising this. I think the National Office said it's still not enough.
Only 3 out of 10 police officers have had the training from the College of Policing. And the point at which most people will have interaction with the police is at that local level. It is the people coming forward to say, I've had this message, I'm concerned I might be being defrauded. And there is a systematic lack of experience of how to deal with online issues in our local police forces that we have to address. We need to be honest about this, and we need to to train them. Because frankly, even your specialist unit, I had to train in how to use Twitter when I was a victim.
The point is that we have been the first government to grip this. The last Labour government had no sense of this at all. That's why we have no. If you think this was not going to growing up you thought Labour were fine then, I think you showed it. You really had your head in the sand.
In 2010, the issues around social media and how it's being used to organise not just crime but also harassment and also radicalism were not existing. This is a new form of technology that we have to get to grips with. But my concern is I had to train your specialist unit in what Twitter was and how to gather data on it.
So just following on this.
The Twitter being used to harass is one form of the use of the social media, but social media is also used for violent, organising extreme violence, and the police are aware of that. They are getting up to speed with it. I've been in meetings where it's discussed. So yes, it doesn't happen overnight, but the police do recognise they need to upgrade their response. But I would say that when it comes to things like fraud, if you look at the figures, the number of positive outcomes, the number of cases was startlingly low, but it's getting better. So you've got to start and recognise that progress is being made.
A couple of things while I've got you here. Are you going to allow the police to stop policing marches, which will affect the number of people being able to hold protest marches in London?
It's just a ridiculous debate. Of course, the police are there to ensure that people have the lawful right to protest.
Will their
role
change in any way about how they routinely turn up at these?
So we're seeing this in football matches, and the police are not doing routine stewarding, nor should they. The clubs are organising the stewarding when you go to the tube stations. I've got two Premiership clubs.
So it will be harder for the organiser process to assume that the officers will be there.
The police will maintain public safety. They're not there to steward protests or football matches.
So the Million Rise March of Women, they're going to have to pay £10,000 to steward a volunteer-led organisation march.
Not this year. You're saying you are going to police it.
So that's what they're going to say.
What about next year? Will you guarantee that march as the police talks about will be policed by?
They're not the same as a football club. They're not a money-making organisation. They're volunteers.
No, but equally with protest, the police are there to keep people safe. Well, if you want to make a march or a protest, or you're making a statement, of course the police will do their bit to ensure that people can make their voice heard. What they're not there to do is basic stewarding or traffic management.
All we've got time for. Well, in fact, just a brief one. Your mayoral campaign, how's it going?
Well,
what
actually,
are we going to hear next about your mayoral campaign? Where are we at with it? Are you still
let's focus on the general election. I'm absolutely committed to seeing David Cameron turn as Prime Minister. That's my single-minded focus.
Right, thanks very much indeed. We'll be in touch. Now, London's proposed Garden Bridge was originally